we are observing Purushotam VRATA when Extramant submitted his distress to Narayan. Then Narayan took him to Krishna in Golok Vrindavan and explained to him about this month. Then Shri Krishna's heart melted and he spoke thus. Aham eteir yata loke pratitah Purushottama tathayam api lokeshu pratitah Purushottama asmai samarpitah sarve jegunamai samstita matsadrishyam upagamya masanamadipo bhavet jagat pujyo jagadvandyo maso yam tu bhavishyati sarve masah sakamascha nishkamoyam maya krita akamah sarva kamovayo dhima samprapujayet karmani bhasma sat kritva mam evaishyati asankshayam kadachin mama bhaktanam aparadeti ganyate Purushottama bhaktanam na parada kadachana ya etasmin mahamura japa danadi varjitaha sat karmas nanrahita devatirtha dvija dvisha jayante durbhaga dushtah para bhagyopajivana na kadachit sukham tesha sapna pishasha shringavat yenaham archito bhaktyamassesmin purushottame dhana putra sukham bhunktva paschat golokavasa bhak. Ramapati Narayan, just as I am celebrated in this world by the name Purushottam, similarly these Adimas too will be renowned in the world by the name Purushottam. Now I offer all my qualities to this month. Becoming like me from today onwards, this Adimas is the monarch of all the other months and is the most worshipable and most adored in the world. All other months are Sakama, that is, they will grant worldly desires. This month, however, is Nishkama. Those who worship this month, either without any desires or with all types of desires, will have all their karmas burnt. Then they will achieve me. My bhaktas sometimes commit offenses, but in this Purushottam month, they will be protected from committing any offense. In this Adimas, those greatly foolish persons who neglect to perform auspicious activities such as japa, giving in charity, visiting and bathing at the holy places, and who are envious of the dvijas, are deemed wicked, unfortunate, and living at the cost of others. Thus, they will not attain a sense of happiness even in their dreams. Conversely, those who are filled with bhakti will take advantage of this Purushottam month to perform archan to me. After enjoying worldly happiness, such as wealth, sons, and so on, they will eventually attain a residence in Goloka. And we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. We are now on this verse. We did not yet complete Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. The verse was, just see tamti telefon zvoni. Just see the foolishness of those ignorant persons who consider you to be some separated manifestation of illusion and who consider the self, which is actually you, to be something else, the material body. Such fools conclude that the Supreme Soul is to be searched for somewhere outside your Supreme Personality. So they think Krishna is some manifestation of illusion, Mayavadis they think, and they think the self to be something else, material body. Such fools conclude that the Supreme Soul is to be searched for somewhere outside your Supreme Personality, Yes. Yesterday I said that one Mayavadi sannyasi, he was a sannyasi, Samarpan Swami. 1 second. In chat. Devaki asked something that I will reply later. That Mayavadi sannyasi, he was on his tour preaching, so he also came to know through one devotee that we are also having programs in our house, Bhagavatam, Harikatha and Prasad, so he wanted to come. So okay, our Parangurudev, he also in Vrindavan, we have mat on Mathura Road, near Ramakrishna Mission. There also Mayavadis. So once our Gurudev told that sometimes those Mayavadi sannyasis, they came to visit our mat, and Parangurudev gave them due respect as sannyasis, and as every jiva you have to give due respect. He did not misbehave with them, and he gave them prasad, and if they wanted to hear some scriptural conclusions, then he would say in mild tone, not aggressive, but mild tone. If they not, then only prasad. That I heard from Gurudev maybe in some years before this Mayavadi sannyasi came. So when I came to know that this Mayavadi sannyasi, he wants to come to our program, then I said yes, remembering that past time, Parangurudev. So he came, and he was hearing Kirtan, hearing Harikatha. That time we were reading Dhruva Charit. So I explained, according to Bhagavatam, that Dhruva, first he performed asanas and pranayama to calm down his mind. Because this sannyasi was also yoga teacher and jnani. So I said that he was doing, and after his mind was calmed down, then he started to meditate on Supreme Lord, his form as described by Narad Goswami, and also chanting that mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So after meditating and chanting, then ultimately he got darshan of Narayan and was fully satisfied and prayed beautiful prayers to him by the grace of Narayan. And there also it is mentioned that those who are devotees, they are getting such bliss in hearing and chanting about Supreme Lord that even Brahmananda is not less than that. So he was hearing everything, and then when we were taking prasad, at that time he told, not at the beginning, like towards the end, he said that he, in India, he does not like why different worshippers are fighting among each other. We are the best, we are the best, you are not. So Kali worshippers, they will say like this. Shiva worshippers will say like this. Vishnu worshippers, Surya, Ganesh, all they will fight. So he told, I don't like this fighting. Why they are fighting? At this point I liked what he said further. If you are really worshipper of Kali, then you should know that Kali is present in the heart of every living entity. So why you will quarrel with anyone? And if you are Shiva worshipper, you will know Shiva is in the heart of everyone. Or Krishna worshipper, on this point I agreed. But he had different conception. Like Kali is Brahman in this form, and Shiva is impersonal Brahman in this material form like this. But it is really true, not good to fight based on some worldly false ego. You have to give due respect to all. Then he said, I go everywhere. I go to Kali temple and I say Jai Kali, and what they are singing in praise of Kali, I approve everything. I also give Jai, so that they will not be displeased with me and I can get prasad or food. Then, if I'm in Shiva temple, I also approve everything. I praise. As they are singing, I praise. In Vishnu temple, everywhere I go, I praise. What they are worshipping, I praise. Because for me, everything is same. And my main point is, I will not displease them so that I can get prasad. Otherwise, they will be angry with me and they will not give me prasad. So that is my target. And he had this conception. Impersonal Brahman is in some material form. That is, of course, wrong. But his conception was like that. So he said, for me, everything is same. I can sing the glories of everyone and I can get prasad. So then I also offered him some sweet prasad, some balls. And he said, no, I'm not taking Rajasic food. Because he does not know that is prasad. He's thinking based on his own understanding that, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there are certain foods which are in Satya Guna, and sweets, if they are very strong like this, that is more Rajaguna and they're Tamaguna. So he said, I am not taking food in Rajaguna. So I did not say anything. Then when he was leaving, then he said, I am not worshipping Krishna, Ram, Kali, Shiva, anyone. I am worshipping Supreme. Means he did not say, but I know what he meant, that impersonal Brahman, but for him, that Brahman took some material form, so he has no problem. But that is what Brahma is refuting here in this verse. They think Krishna is also manifestation of Maya. And this, so that is wrong. And they think they have to search for ultimate reality somewhere beyond Krishna or beyond like this form, beyond. So because they don't know Krishna Tattva. Who is Krishna? Krishna is ultimate reality. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. And we heard yesterday, Brahmanohi Pratishtaham. Krishna says, I am the cause of impersonal Brahman. That is my effulgence. I am the cause of Paramatma. I am superior to both of them. That is why I am Purushotam. So those who don't know the Tattva of Krishna because of lack of devotion to him, lack of surrender, like Brahma could also not understand. He played this pastime. So only one who will surrender to Krishna, by his grace he can know. Then he will see, yes, that is foolishness. They are thinking there is some ultimate reality beyond Krishna, above Krishna. That is their foolishness or ignorance. So Brahma is here speaking this point. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, yesterday we heard some explanation. Yes. The Vivartavadis and Parinamavadis debate about the material world instead of the perfect Lord. Vivartavadis means those who think that this world is illusion. And Parinamavadis means that Brahman transformed himself into this world and Jiva. Brahma Parinamvat, that is wrong. And Vivartavat means like you see snake, or you see rope but you think it is snake. That mistake you are seeing. Your vision is mistaken. So for them, this world is non-existent, it is illusion. But for Parinamavadis means that supreme reality transformed itself into this material world and into jivas. But here Bishwan Chakur Thakur is saying the Vivartavadis and Parinamavadis debate about the material world instead of the perfect Lord. The form of this Chit Brahman is described in several verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shabda Brahmatmanastasya. Brahma is the personal representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the source of transcendental sound, and is therefore above the conception of manifested and unmanifested. That Shabda Brahma means transcendental sound, and is therefore above the conception of manifested and unmanifested. Unmanifested, this material energy were not manifested and then manifested. So he's above this, transcendental. Supreme Personality of Godhead is above this, and he is the source of this transcendental sound. Yat tat vapur bhati vibhushana yudhair avyakta chidvyaktam adarayat dhari bhabuva tanaiva sa vamanovatuh sampashyator divya gatir yata natah. This is also from Bhagavatam. The Lord appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands. Although this ever-existing form is not visible in the material world, he nonetheless appeared in this form. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Brahman, just like a theatrical actor. This is from 8th Canto. So first he appeared in such a form, and that is spiritual form. And we cannot see that spiritual form with these material eyes. But if he appears in this world by his own will in that form, then he makes it visible to all. But not all will recognize who he is, only devotee will. And he also made this mystically, that he transformed himself into Vaman, that is like small dwarf, just like a theatrical actor. Or similarly, like when Krishna appeared in Mathura in prison house, that was with 4 hands first, and miraculously appeared, and with all ornaments and like this. But then he assumed the form of small boy, and he told them, if I would not appear in my 4-handed form, you could not know that really I am Supreme Lord. You would not understand. So I first took that form, and then on the request of Devaki, he became like small baby, like human. Then further in Bhagavatam, Satya Jnanananta Nanda Matraika Rasa Murtaya. The Vishnu Murtis manifested by the Gopa named Krishna all had eternal unlimited forms full of knowledge and bliss and existing beyond the influence of time. This is when Krishna, after Brahma stole all the calves and cowherd boys, Then when Brahma came back, when he was surrendered, then he saw that all these cowherd boys and calves, they are Vishnu Murtis, is in the form of Vishnu. And these forms are unlimited. They are not limited by any material time and space, beyond time. And they are Chit and Ananda. So these verses prove about perfect Supreme Lord. Perfect form, eternal. And Gopal Tapani Upanishad says, Yah Shakshat Parabrahmeti Govindam Satchit Ananda Vigraham Brindavana Sura Bhuruha Talasinam. The Absolute Truth himself is Govinda, who has an eternal form of bliss and knowledge, and who is sitting beneath the shady trees of Brindavan. Because here it is mentioned Parabrahmeti. He is Supreme Spirit or Supreme Absolute Truth, Ultimate. It is very clear. Yah Shakshat Parabrahmeti Govindam Satchit Ananda Vigraham. So this totally destroys Mayavad conception. That ultimate reality is something impersonal. No. And it has no name, no form. No. Satchit, it is eternal, full of knowledge, and blissful, and Vigraha. Vigraha means form. And where? In Brindavana, Suraburuha Talasinam. The transcendental abode of Brindavan is there where he's staying. Then Gopal Tapani Upanishad also says, Tasam Madhya Shakshat Brahma Gopalapuri. Yes. Among all these abodes, they are mentioned before, the residence of Lord Gopal is directly the absolute truth. That verse of Srinath Chakravarti, Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajeshatane Tadhama Brindavanam. Brindavan is also worshipable. As Krishna is worshipable, his transcendental abode, Brindavan is also worshipable. All paraphernalia of Krishna, they are all worshipable. Cowherd boys, all associates, Jamuna, Brindavan, everything. That is supreme transcendental realm is Golok Brindavan. That is Gopala Puri. Here means the place of Gopal. Brahma prayed. Ignoring these scriptural statements that show Brahman has a body and exists in a spiritual abode, Dham, people remain in darkness. So scripture are very, very clear. But in spite of this, those who don't accept, they are in darkness. They are so fallen that they accept a blind Guru Parampara and discuss Vivartavat. Blind Guru Parampara means this Mayavad. Because they are speaking about Vivartavat. That is Mayavad. They are in the most lamentable of all lamentable conditions in my creation. Brahma is saying, most lamentable of all lamentable conditions in my creation. Means this material world. But this is also creation of Krishna. Brahma is secondary creator, original is Krishna. So Mayavad is also created by Krishna. Nothing is outside Krishna. So we can also come under the influence of such ignorance, but we can also be rescued by Krishna's grace. When Sarvam Bhattacharya was playing the pastime of being stiff Mayavadi, but Mahaprabhu graced him and he enlightened him and he understood that is wrong. And also Prakashananda Saraswati in Kashi, Mahaprabhu graced him and converted him into Vaishnava. And in Jaiva Dharma you will find one very highly qualified one, Mayavadi. He was fully liberated from all demands of the senses and mind and everything. He was merged in that spirit. He also, by hearing pure name chanted by Vaishnava, he became attracted because he felt some superior type of bliss. Then he was searching for that Vaishnava. Ultimately he came to Navadip and he took shelter of a Vaishnava. So it is not impossible to be rescued. By Krishna's grace we can be rescued when we gather enough sukriti, and by causeless mercy of some pure devotee we can be rescued from that. So this Mayavadi sannyasi who came, he also got some grace, at least in the form of that we had one prasad from India. So something he got. Then when that will fructify, then he can, by the grace of pure devotees. Later I heard that he met some devotees later on also. On airport, Mother and Devaka or something, I don't know, remember clearly. So gradually Jiva can also come out from that type of ignorance and can accept pure devotion. Another reading of Agya Janata means ignorant people is Gya Janata. In this case, it could be translated, what foolishness of so-called learned men. Means so-called learned, because they think we are the most learned. We are, like he said, I am worshipping Supreme, but I am meditating. I'm meditating on Supreme. For them, Vaishnava is low. Here my mother is typing, yes. He met my mother. They were on the same flight to India. Coincidentally, of course, nothing is coincidentally, Krishna arranged. They were on the same flight to India, and then they went together in taxi to our mat in Delhi. Guru Gauranga, Radha Shyam Sundar, Bhagavan are there, deities. And Devaki was asking me, because on Thursday we will have some Vaishnava guests from India here. Srila Paramarti Maharaj and Brajendra Nandan is coming, and Tapasi Maharaj from Croatia. So about Purushotam VRATA, we will have in the morning at 10 a.m. only I will read from Purushotam month, the glories, and one verse from Brahmastava. And Ashtakas and mantra, everyone will do as per his suitable time. Because here the recordings are going on YouTube, and there is that list, so that one day will not be missed. We will have at 10 a.m. only these two things, so that video can also come there. Then next verse. Antarbhave nanta bhavantam eva hyatat tyajanto mrigayanti santah asantam apyanti ahim antarena santam gunam tam kim u yanti santah. O unlimited Lord, the saintly devotees seek you out within their own bodies by rejecting everything separate from you. Indeed, how can discriminating persons appreciate the real nature of rope lying before them until they refute the illusion that it is a snake? Commentary by disciples of Srila Sai Maharaj. One may argue that a person should cultivate self-realization and at the same time pursue sense gratification for the material body. This proposition is herein refuted by the example of misidentifying a rope as a snake. One who mistakes a rope for a snake becomes fearful and thinks of the so-called snake. But upon discovering that the so-called snake is actually a rope, he experiences a different emotion, relief, and can then ignore the rope. Similarly, because we misunderstand the material body to be the self, we are experiencing many emotions in relation to the body. Upon discovering, however, that the body is simply a bag of material chemicals, we carefully note how this illusion was created and then lose interest in the body. Discovering that we are actually an eternal soul within the body, we naturally focus our attention on that real self. Means you will know that the necessity of real self is devotion to Krishna. So you will also start to see body in relation to Krishna, and you will take care of the body in relation to Krishna's service so that you can use. So it will not be ignored. Those who are jnanis, they ignore. But devotees, they also accept body as Krishna's and they take care of it appropriately so that they can use it for the service of Krishna. So that is not something in conflict with the interest of real self. Some people think if I want to fulfill the interest of real self, then I have to hate this body or ignore or remove or like this. That is not correct. Devotees don't hate. And when they are taking care of body, it is not outside of service of Krishna, because they know it belongs to Krishna and should be used for him. So when they are taking care of body, that is also in the interest of their real self. There is no conflict. But we have to get that vision, or at least that understanding, by the grace of Guru, and gradually also get that vision. Those who are saintly and wise always cultivate Krishna consciousness, spiritual knowledge, having transcended the foolish misidentification of the body as the self. Such Krishna conscious persons go on to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who dwells within the material body as the Super Soul, the witness and guide of every living entity. Realization of the Super Soul and the individual soul is so pleasing and satisfying that a self-realized person automatically gives up everything irrelevant to his spiritual advancement. He will give up unnecessary sense enjoyment, sinful activities, all these things he will give, but not proper care and proper usage of this body in relation to the service of Krishna. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Brahma prayed. The Jnanis think that your form is an attribute of Maya. Your saintly devotees, however, seek out the pure form of the living entity, Jiva, free from the covering of Maya. By rejecting that which is material, not spiritual, they seek out the Jiva which takes birth among countless species in various bodies. To reject everything material, one must first reject the false conception that I am the material body. Next, the procedure is mentioned. Brahma continued. How can one appreciate the real nature of a robe lying before him until he refutes the illusion that it is a snake? In the Vedas it is said, Asangoyam Purusha. The soul has nothing to do with this body. Thus the Jiva has no bodily suffering. But due to ignorance, the Jiva identifies with the body and thus experiences various miseries. Without rejecting everything related to the body, can one realize his spiritual identity just by cultivating transcendental knowledge? No, one cannot know the soul without rejecting all attachments to the material body. So you have to give up wrong conceptions. Athapi te deva padam bhujadvaya prasada leshanu grihita eva hi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko pichiram vichinvan. This is very important verse. Our Srila Bharati Gosai Maharaj, when I was hearing this topic from him during Purushotam month in 2012 in Calcutta, he gave much explanation on this verse. And also in other Harikathas, Maharaj liked this verse very much, and there is one Bengali also in Chaitanya Bhagavat which is expressing the same point, which is here. So it is very important. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. Purport. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 84. Lord Krishna is very eager. The translation of the verse is given by Swami Maharaj himself in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, further commentary. Lord Krishna is very eager to bestow his mercy upon the conditioned living beings who are uselessly struggling with the Lord's illusory energy Maya. The conditioned soul struggles for happiness through sense gratification and for knowledge through mental speculation. Both processes ultimately bring him to a morose and hopeless condition. If the conditioned soul surrenders to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and thus acquires even a trace of his causeless mercy, the whole situation is changed. And the living entity can begin his real life of bliss and knowledge in Krishna consciousness. Means without getting the grace of Supreme Lord, no one can know him. Also, that Gopinath Acharya told to Sarvam Bhattacharya, I can understand you cannot understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because you did not receive his grace. Then Sarvam Bhattacharya argued, and then how we can know that you received his grace? Then he said, because I accept him as Supreme Lord by his grace. But that is the proof. You are not. It will happen. So later on, really Sarvam Bhattacharya, when he surrendered to Mahaprabhu and got his grace, he could realize his Supreme Lord. Without his grace, no one can know. Here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one part I will read. Brahma prayed, only by Krishna Bhakti is it possible for the living entity who has discarded his material coverings to realize the bliss of Brahman. Being blessed with a particle of mercy from your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. Matsya Avatar says, Madhyam Mahimanam Cha Param Brahmati Shabditam. Advised and favored by me, you will know everything about my glories, which are known as Parabrahma, because they will manifest within your heart. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So when we receive the blessing, grace of Bhagavan, then we can understand his glories. Otherwise it is impossible. Only by his will and his grace incarnate form is Guru. So by the blessing of Guru also we can realize Supreme Lord. Tomorrow we will further hear about this, continuing this commentary.